All right, we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna go ahead and get started. We're gonna start off with the pledge, and then immediately following the pledge, we can have a moment of silence for our thoughts and prayers for the sheriff's department. Just kind of what they're going through in this time, this tough time. So. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone. Kick it off first with the consent agenda, which are the minutes of March 14th, credit card statements, and then the job description was the field training officer. I had no team.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda as is.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
First up, we have department head reports, township assistance.
Good afternoon. We've had another busy month in township assistance. We did a total of 16 interviews. Unfortunately, we only had 4 approvals out of all of those 16. A lot of them were due to either not or wasted resources. A lot of them got their tax checks back and didn't spend them appropriately. And then we're coming in asking for help. So that's kind of where those issues were for the month of March. Questions?
So kind of a question. I know we talked about, just because I've had a couple of questions from different entities that we had previously funded. I know we were going to wait until the end of the year to do that. Do we want them to still send in their requests, or how do we?
When I've talked to those different groups, I've told them that they wanted to send their requests in, but we would be holding them until at least the last quarter of the year before we presented them to the board for your consideration.
Okay. That's what I thought. A couple asked, but I wanted to confirm that that's what we want to do. So, okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
You're back at human resources.
So for the month of March, we had one firefighter resignation, a paramedic resignation, and then you'll see there's 13 camp counselors on there. That's really just getting them off the books from after summer camp. We hired 2 new paramedics. We hired 2 new camp counselors for spring break camp and 2 extended cares counselors. For the month of March, I also want to make note that we have hired our new front desk assistant. Her name is Amber. She's over across the hall in the front little window. If you want to stop by and say hi before you leave, introduce yourselves. We have also, in the firefighter process, testing begins this weekend. We started out with about 192 apps. We will move those down to 147 applicants we'll be testing this weekend. We did that through a process of background, driving records, stuff that we knew we wouldn't be able to ensure moving forward. That's how we got those down. And we had 5 laterals. We did a lateral process too. We had 5 laterals that accepted and should be submitted here in the next few weeks. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Parks.
Shorts and sandals on.
Summertime.
Get
Looks like a parking lot.
All right, we had a lot of things going on in the park. I feel like I say that every month. We've really been trying to prepare for our summer months and the craziness of the summer months. So Stephanie and I have been really intentional about how we are focusing on communication between all the divisions, how we're making sure that with us being in so many different locations, we're all communicating very well so that we can streamline things and nothing just drops when we're all busy in the summertime. And then we've also been working with Jessica to streamline our hiring process, because as you guys know, we hire so many people before our summer months. It does make it difficult for us to organize everything together. So Jessica and Stephanie have been working really hard on setting up all of that in Paylocity. And now Paylocity, we can upload the job application, we can upload the job description, and then Paylocity sends it to 3 different platforms. Those go right to us. And so it's really been very helpful for us. And then, of course, when we go to onboarding, Paylocity saves all the onboarding information and everything. So I just wanted to thank Jessica and Stephanie for working really hard on that, because that was really difficult. And then we've been doing, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but we have expanded our programming division. So we have 3 different programmers now. And then also we just hired our second naturalist, which is doing nature programming. So you'll see a huge uptick in the programming that we're providing now. We're trying to get every category, every demographic that we can provide some type of interest to. And so I did want to highlight Allison, who is our recreation manager. And she actually executed 3 large community events within a 14-day period. So that is very difficult if anyone, these are very large events. She did flawless. She executed it well. She made sure everyone was prepared. So I wanted to make sure that we highlighted her. That was over and above. And she's handled her doubling in staff very well too. So we're very excited to have someone like Allison here and for the accomplishments that she's made. We're planning for Murphy. We have a lot going on with Murphy, a lot of changes that we're doing, a lot of updates that we're doing. And now you'll start to see a lot of the advertising coming here soon. So we start advertising really heavy mid-April. And so we have a lot of things coming here soon that you guys will see. We have construction going on with the fence around the property. R.L. Turner inspected and noticed that because of how much rain we've gotten in this last year, and the posts were not set correctly, that there was cracking around all the posts. So they had offered to fix that for us free of charge. So you'll see a lot of construction going on right now. Once that's complete at the end of this week, we'll start filling the pool, and you'll start to see that kind of coming a little bit more. And then, just like I said, we have our new naturalist, and so we've been training her as well. And then as far as youth services go, we did have a downtick in employment after the spring break. We kind of knew that was going to happen, but we had about 22 different people who applied with our new Paylocity software. So we've been interviewing and hiring, and so next month we'll hear from Ashley about all the new hires that we have for that position too. And then you can see we're doing several camps this year. We have to hire for a lot of those camps, but we're seeing a big increase in camps because of the changes that have been made in Brownsburg and Plainfield. It's funny because we actually are getting more from outside than inside. So we are trying to hire more staff during the breaks now because we are getting so many Brownsburg, Plainfield that are signing up for our breaks that we had some Avon parents didn't know what to do at that point. So we're going to make sure we're constantly hiring for the break camps too, because those are getting really big. And then as far as capital projects go, our maintenance staff finally finished the biodome at the Nature Center. And so right now we are working on sponsorship with Nature's Choice, who's actually also a neighbor of ours, and he's helping us with some of the stuff that we'll be putting inside of that. But you'll see some updates from us. We're hoping to get some tropical plants in there. We want to do a little enclosure for one of our tortoises. We want to do some butterflies and some tropical flowers as well. And then we're also working on the glow-in-the-dark bug laboratory. And so we're hoping to have that by the end of summer to be able to show everyone and start doing some field trips there as well. And then as far as revenue goes, we're on track with revenue. As far as the pool goes, we're a little bit high in passives, but we have a plan for that. I just don't want to say it yet because there's some marketing coming out for it. So I'm hoping that we'll see a big uptick in that here soon too. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, fire.
So before Levi gets going, I do have an update from Chief Brock. So Chief Brock not here today. FDIC is this week, and 2 of our members are actually down at downtown Indianapolis right now, participating in the Firefighters Combat Challenge. We don't have much information yet, and there's still more to come. But Caitlin Stovall, the last text that I got from Chief Brock Caitlin Stovall was one of the only finishers for female under 40 and is currently first with more to go tomorrow. So we'll see what tomorrow holds in store, but right now, no surprise to anybody in the room, Caitlin's a rock star and she's out there performing. So yeah, she's doing great in the combat challenge. We'll see what tomorrow holds in store, and we'll see what how Belcheck places as well. But that's where Chief Brock and Chief Phipps are downtown supporting some of their staff that are in that unique event that we only get one time a year. And so that's where they're at, which brings us to why Levi's hanging out with us
The pitch
today.
hitter. So,
Plan B over
yeah,
here.
exactly. In the absence of Chief Brock, I'll be covering the fire report. It'll be a much more condensed version probably than you guys are used to. So we'll go over a couple just of the highlights. I know you guys have the report in front of you. Just a couple things that we're gonna. He wanted to go over and some things that I had picked out as well. After averaging about 90 hours per month of modified or out of service time, we could say that the calendar year 2024 went to zero so far. So that is obviously a huge accomplishment. And to kind of piggyback off of something, the hiring process that Ashley had spoke about, there was 12 lateral firefighter applicants representing 8 different agencies. Only 2 of those were from within Hendricks County. So that process, as she said, I believe 5 have accepted. The civilian paramedic process is still going on. Chief Weininger has been creating relationships with Area 31, IU Hospital, and Ivy Tech paramedic program by becoming a ride-out location for aspiring paramedics and those finishing their education. So getting their interest and getting them in and getting familiar with our system. The hiring process, as Ashley had said, 192 applicants, which is amazing for a department this size. It's the largest that I can remember in 19 years that I've been here to have that many. See kind of the breakdown of the demographics as well. So they did a really good job of getting that information out to all the different locations. And I think that we got a huge pool to select from. So paramedics completed their advanced cardiac life support provider certification back in March. This is a 2-year certification required for all paramedics. We had 5 paramedics that attended the International Trauma Life Support class provider course and scored well enough to become instructors. So congratulations to them. Administratively, they're continuing down the path of remodel design for Station 143. They're not pleased with the preliminary cost estimates, but we continue to drill down on the details and find a solution. Station 145 planning has also continued, and they're confident in the design and layout and its orientation on the current property. The next section kind of goes to the operation. We'll just hit a couple of those. Mutual aid given was 208. Mutual aid received was 54. Again, apparatus out of service. That section is 0, which is obviously good to see. And then to the favorite part of everybody's monthly report, fire prevention division. So we'll spend the next 2 hours talking about this group here. This is just an update of last month. Again, as you can see, the annual inspections. Tom and Tony do a great job getting us into all the buildings. Check today, we're up over half of what we were last year. So good work by them. Tony and Courtney attended the inspectors annual conference here in Indiana just a couple of weeks ago. So they were able to bring back that information as well. We conducted another one of our fire investigation scenario trainings in March, and that was attended by 9 other outside agencies. And we had over 20 investigators, detectives, and crime scene techs. So we had to start capping our numbers because it's kind of grown in popularity. So we're trying to do these quarterly at this point. Chief Phipps and a couple from our division actually put it in for a grant last week to possibly get another building out there for us to be able to do investigations, just because we're seeing so many I think the last two investigation trainings that we've done, we've had over 13 agencies from Hendricks County and outside of Hendricks County with over 50 investigators go through it. So, and then on the last page, you'll see everywhere that Courtney has been, and she continues to do an amazing job and reach people. And one of the things that she did over at Avon Creek, she hosted, worked with their management and did fire investigation training and had the trucks out there for the kids to go through and stuff. So she's doing a great job as well. So, any questions for me? Maybe under.
Thank you for filling in.
Yeah, sure.
All right, next up with trustee report.
So when I first started writing my report, I didn't have anything to write about. And then a page and a half later, here we are. But as everybody's already talked, we've got so much that's going on within the township, and we're reaching out in so many different areas. I did want to highlight, obviously, the things that I specifically had a couple points on here that I want to talk about without trying to steal the thunder from everybody else. But the first one that I've got on here is the solar eclipse. Obviously, big deal for Central Indiana. There's been so much planning, so much conversation. I think Laura and her team thought fire, like we were crazy for a little bit because, again, it goes, yeah, she's not denying. No, we have to, in emergency services, it's always plan for the worst and hope for the best. And I commented that in my report, but that's really what it is. We've heard so many horror stories about all the chaos and all of it. I mean, just everything that was going on. No surprise to anybody. Our staff, all of our administrators and policymakers got together, communicated appropriately and effectively to make sure that Washington Township was as prepared as we needed to be, and we did not have any major issues, no major incidents. We had a well-attended event at Murphy Park, which went off very well. Laura and her entire team were out there. She managed to make sure that we had Chamber of Commerce weather that day, so that the weather was beautiful for us to be outside all day as well. But a great event. And then it's so much more of it is the behind the scenes, all of her staff planning to prepare for the event, just the same as the fire staff planning to make sure that we had our people in positions where they needed to go to make sure that in case of the event of the worst case scenario, that we weren't going to be behind the 8 ball. So real happy with all of our staff, real proud of all of the work that they put in, even though most of it does go unseen to the majority of our community would never know any different, but we put in just a ton of hours to make sure that we are set. So I certainly appreciate all of that. You've already heard a couple times now about the fire department hiring process. This is a big deal. And this week being FDIC week, I've already spent yesterday and part of today downtown meeting with friends that come in from around the state and from around the country. And as I've been talking about this, they ask, hey, what's going on in the township world? And I talk about this hiring process. The people here that are from Central Indiana, when I talk to them about having 190 applicants for our fire department out here in Washington Township, one of the guys today is, so you guys, that's a countywide process? No, that's just us. And their mind is blown because having hiring processes where we have that kind of numbers, we haven't seen that in a lot of years. It used to be 20 years ago when I was hired, that wasn't out of the ordinary. It is definitely a different world that we live in. And to have those kind of numbers are a big deal. But that's something that Chief Brock had mentioned, the days of us just sharing something on social media and asking our friends to share it, that's not working. We need to do better. As you've heard him talk about getting out, doing recruiting, we've gone out to see the Area 31 kids. Of course, they're high school kids. They're not even eligible to hire. But if we can put that bug in their heads now, more importantly, we have a cadet program, the Explorer Post, which my youngest is a member of. He came home last night and told me that, yeah, we've got 3 new members that came from the Area 31 program that were at this meeting last night. Try to reach out to Vincennes, their fire science program, Ivy Tech, their fire science program. We had the Indiana Black Firefighters host an event where we had nearly 70 people in attendance at that event. supposed to be an hour and a half event. 3 hours later, we all got out of there because so many people are interested and they want to come up and they want to introduce themselves and they want to talk and ask questions and, hey, what about this? And how are you guys doing that? And so people are genuinely interested in what's going on here. And so obviously super proud of that and appreciate all of the efforts that Chief Brock and his staff are putting in to make sure that we have the best applicant pool that we can get. Lastly, I've got on here EMS mutual aid runs. I've talked about it before. This isn't going to be the last time you see this in my monthly reports because I have assured everybody in this room that this is something that I do want to stay on top of. I do still have concerns about EMS in Marion County right now. So far, we've not seen drastic changes in our numbers. We don't know if that's going to maintain or not. We're going to keep our finger on the pulse, unintended. But we do want to pay attention to what's going on over there. I understand wholeheartedly how mutual aid works. It is a necessity. We're not going to avoid it. But I do stand very firmly that the citizens of Washington Township should not shoulder the burden of providing an additional ambulance for Wayne Township or the Marion County area. I understand we're going to get pulled over there, especially during busy times, but we can't have a truck that's over there more hours than they are over here in our own district. I feel strongly we have provided the level of service that we feel is appropriate for Washington Township. I want to have those medics here in our area available to serve our people as needed. So won't be the last time we talk about this. I just want to keep it on your radar as well. So as we continue moving forward, if we do see any drastic changes to the negative effect, then I want you to be up to speed on where we're at and hopefully we can develop a plan to best move forward based off of that information.
Okay.
That's what I've got for you.
I just want to say thank you for that. I think three of us can attest for 5 years. It's been something on our radar. From the first meeting, we were like, wait a minute, those numbers are completely lopsided. And we have asked for the numbers and stayed on top. It's not just Wayne Township and what's going on in Indianapolis. It's where we sit geographically.
Yes.
And I, same as you, understand that the people in Washington Township that pay taxes shouldn't be the ones to shoulder the burden of the entire county. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate that you're at least paying attention to it and have a pulse.
Yep.
Thank you.
For sure.
Yeah, in an attempt of another county to save money, we don't want to do that at both the expense and the risk of our folks too.
Yeah, for sure.
But, Laura, I can also tell you that I think that our fire response was far more calm and planned than many that I may have had to come in contact with during that period of time. So,
Talking to some of my park friends, I would agree.
yeah.
It didn't feel so crazy.
You guys did an awesome job of planning, and wow, everybody was highly ramped up. Thankfully, it was just the lights went out for a bit, and then came back on. Nothing else that happened. So, but wow. Okay. All right. Thank you. You want any old business, new business? We have resolution 041624-01, the 2023 paid 2024 401A contribution.
This is just it's a long one, right? Our annual contributions to our 401A accounts. It's township staff, full-time township staff, full-time park staff, and a few firefighters that failed to join the 77 fund when we started that way back when. We're not failed, they just didn't want to. So this is just every year we pay into this, different percentages depending on what class each person is. Each job is a different class, so that's why you'll see some get a higher amount than others. On the second page. Any questions?
I move we adopt resolution 04-16-24-01, authorizing the payment of the 401A contribution.
I will second.
All those in favor?
I
All right.
don't know if you want to change, this says compensation. I think that should be compensation.
Oh, I will change that.
Oh, yeah.
Minor.
Okay, next up is the job description discussion.
So yeah, I did put this on the agenda. This was something that I talked with Ashley about, something that I've talked with Fire about quite a bit as well. And they asked if this is something that I would be willing to bring up to the board because I certainly want your opinion on this. I know the previous trustee, we had a resolution that that you all adopted where any changes in job descriptions would come over to the township board. I have a number of job description changes that are on the horizon, and some of them are as simple as we are just renumbering the job description. What I would like to propose, and again, certainly I appreciate your opinion on the matter, I would like to propose that we have a new resolution. Melanie will look at you on how we would have to word this. I'd like to change the previous resolution to now make it so that any new job description or any changes to the department head job descriptions still come to the township board. Any of the other job descriptions that we have, whether they be parks or fire, that we could just approve through the administration of the township office. I don't know if you all have any thoughts, any concerns about any of that. But again, we're just trying to expedite any of the changes that need to be made administratively, but still provide you all with an opportunity anytime we are adding something that we've not had previously, or anytime we are changing one of the department heads' job descriptions. I still want you all involved to at least be able to be kept up to speed, on any of those changes. So again, just wanted to have that as part of a discussion. That's kind of what I've got, unless Ashley, did you have any other reasonings as to, that's where we're at with it. Wanted to propose that to you all. If it's something that you all would be, that you think would work, then we'll work through Bellamy to try to get that written in a new resolution to move forward from there.
If it's working on, numbering and clarification and, wording and things like that, I have no problem with not seeing those kind. If it affects their compensation, then I think we probably need to be pulled back in that, even though
We have that in job descriptions, compensation.
So I know the parks puts theirs in there, but anytime we would change someone's, because we have really narrowed down our salary resolution, so anytime we would change someone's compensation, we'd have to change that. So you guys would at least know we're changing their salary, right? So like we've really narrowed it down to this is what the person is making as opposed to a range like it used to be. There are still some jobs that have a range because there's a couple people in those positions. Some newer, some older in those positions. So, but I think the parks is the only one that actually puts their compensation on their job descriptions. And again, it's a range usually.
yeah, I'm just thinking we can't kind of absolve ourselves from that oversight.
Right, correct, yes.
Even though I like the simplification, the concept of what you're working on, I don't think we can give up that oversight. And if it's a matter of how we do things, then maybe that is a way to approach it.
Yeah, so I totally agree. I think from a fiduciary standpoint, that's kind of part of our responsibility. And I get what you're saying. Salary resolution will certainly come to us. But if the job description is changed and that person's functioning under that job description, that could potentially happen before the compensation change. And then if we say, well, wait a second, and if there's a snag there, what happens at that point? Do they go back to what they were doing? Maybe we're overthinking it, but it's just that fiduciary.
So we
I
could do like.
don't worry about
yeah.
you guys. I don't worry about us. But we have to think for the future too, as to.
I'm thinking a system of checks and balances. Like,
That's
is
the only-
it keeping you guys from doing your jobs in a timely manner? Running it by us once a month? Like, I guess that's my question. And if not, then is that
Sometimes.
sometimes it does?
So like if we what was the last one we changed? The firefighter we changed down to 18. We used to say 21. We changed it down to 18 because that was the rule that we all kind of made. Well, we couldn't actually post that job until you guys approved the job description for the last board meeting. So we could have posted it 2 weeks prior to what we did, but we had to wait for you guys to approve it so that we could actually do the hiring of the 18-year-old.
I mean, I guess part of that maybe we would leave it to your discretion. It's going to lead to if you're combining, let's say combining two positions, and it would lead to a something. I
Oh,
guess
yeah,
that's-
something like that, I think we should still definitely bring back.
Yeah, so maybe that would be another criteria, is if it's gonna have, gosh, I'd say the word substantial, because substantial could be, depends on, I don't know what that amount is or something like that. Is that, Jeff, does that
Subjective
make?
term.
Need to have the question presented and I need to give you a memo to answer in terms of a letter or an
Okay.
email. The couple things that come to mind is anytime we change a policy, whether it's compensation or reimbursement or we change benefits, all those things have to come to you, whether or not it's time away or testing or this or that or the other. And that is a function that the trustee presents the changes they want and then the board adopts them. I do not want to hold things up in what I call
Totally agree.
hyphen versus
Right.
dash.
Right.
And I actually think Chief had a couple of those
Yep.
in that segment. But it begs the question, because there were minor changes, but one of the minor changes was allowing hiring of 18-year-olds. Because you can, should you? Do you feel comfortable that that's something you want a more mature candidate? I don't know. I mean, if it opens the door to getting, kind of legacy candidates or young men or women that, it sounds crazy, but can turn in their 20, 25 years and still not even be very far in their 40s, that's pretty awesome, and there may be chances to do that. Would that be a material enough change that the two bodies ought to look at together? I don't know. So I have to look at whether or not what type of material change has to be approved by you, because my concern is I don't want to, in the sake of efficiency, have someone come back or State Board of Accounts come back and say, well, we've had these kind of material changes. There weren't very many words. We changed a 2-1 to a 1-8, but who approved it? Well, it's just, HR and the trustees. Okay, when did it come before the board? Well, it never did. Okay, well, you can back up the last 2 years and you need to retroactively approve it or all these changes or, I just want to make sure that when you do it, it's permissible. And then you have to decide between the two of you. I'm indifferent as to good idea, bad idea. There'll be instances where both see it different. I want to see if you can do it. If you can do it, then you guys have to decide. If you can't do it, then matter.
That sounds fair.
Yeah, no, and that, like I said, I wanted to bring that up in an open discussion, so we could all kind of talk about it. Certainly, we can continue to put some thought into it, and see if we can get that mapped out a little bit better, and we can talk again. But no, I at least appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, we don't want to hold you up.
No.
That's not the intent.
Yeah.
What it reminds me of a little bit is when I went to that convention or that conference, and you were speaking actually, and I said, does anyone realize that the credit card statements are our responsibility? Like we could personally be liable, and we were signing off on them and had never seen them. And so it's something like that where it's like, have we ever spent a lot of time in this meeting going over these credit card statements? No, but we at least now get to see them and make sure that we're, making sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing and there's not some, trip to Hawaii on here, So it's just that system of checks and balances and making sure that we are, like Shane said, being fiscally responsible, because if it is our responsibility and it comes back 2 years later, then I do have a problem with that. And I do think changing 21 to 18 is a big deal, even though that's 2 numbers.
Well, so you guys approved the merit documents
Right.
a couple meetings before that.
Right.
And we just realized that we didn't change the job description too, and we're like, oh.
Right, yeah, so I see both sides.
Sure.
No, I don't
Yeah.
want to have to, we changed a hyphen. No, we don't
Well,
want to
and
spend our
even-
time on that, but
And even if this is something we can't do on our end, we will need to make sure that we stay on top of that, so we're not forgetting to get it to you in a timely manner, so it's not holding us up. But just understand that there are going to be opportunities coming up in the near future where we're going to give you red line copies of job descriptions, and the only thing that might be different would be the header that just has a different number. And I just don't want it to seem silly to you all that we are bringing these to you.
I don't think it ever seems silly.
well,
I
I just-
don't think.
again, trying to be respectful of everyone's time and to make sure that we are, we want to get things approved through the proper channels, but at the same time, if we can just move things through, especially the minor administrative changes, then that's just as easy as well for us. But
Yeah, I think it'd be
Certainly
great to
wanna-
define, I think it'd be great to define it.
Okay.
I think that would be, and get Jeff to weigh in, and if we're all good with that. I just told man, it would be, some of us silly like dashes or changes in titles and again, I'm fine with everybody we currently have in place, but if you're not in that seat, I mean,
No,
stuff
absolutely.
can happen and we need to do what we should to protect.
Right.
things
Let's
in the future.
put some more thought to it. We'll have a conversation and then we'll circle back up at a later date then.
Well, sometimes a dash or a hyphen or a period makes all the difference in the world, right? So I, like, wait a minute, let me read that again. So I,
That's my metaphor of, it
No, that makes
sometimes
sense.
feels that way when I'm working with DLGF, like we'll use the dash here, it's supposed to be a hyphen. I'm sitting here kind of like, I don't have to work with them again, so I'm just gonna bite my tongue.
Right.
I don't understand what the
Yeah.
material of the change is. I can't remember exactly what we did, but there was a time, it's been at least a couple of years ago, where we did some resolutions in the alternative. Sounds like at a minimum, we're gonna come up with some ideas of purely clerical changes or organizational changes, meaning organization of how the document's organized. And that will be resolution A, and likely approved without much trouble, and it just sort of sets some rules for
Yeah.
what, hey, don't bring this back, we don't need to see it. And then we'll have to get a legal answer on part B, and then you'll have to evaluate it on what's an acceptable material. And I think Shane's comments are well taken. At some point, we're all going to be doing something else. And when that occurs, how far from a very sensible, reasonable baseline we're at now, how many unobserved job changes can occur would be way out in space, so.
Cool.
Very
So
good.
maybe
Appreciate it.
next meeting have something you guys can maybe
Yeah, see what we
together.
come up with and circle back to it.
Awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any public comment? Wishes to be heard. I just want to say, kind of in the wishes to be heard, thanks to our teams that were on last night. I know that was not an easy night for folks, and certainly supporting the sheriff's department, supporting each other and taking care of each other. It's a tough gig they're going through right now, and you just never know. It's important everybody supports everyone on it. So thank you for you guys, what you do every day. Anything else? Okay. We will adjourn. Maybe like second place
like
record
a
time.
motion.
Oh, sorry.
We're only 5 years in.
Sorry.
I will, I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to adjourn at 3:38 PM. You got me all messed up.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, man, sorry. My little machine. There it is.
So he's like,